The Paper Tigers on Netflix was a disappointment. I didn't have high hopes going into the movie, knowing that it was a comedy, but I mean, I guess it tries to be cute, it tries to be funny, and it tries to be a lot of things, and it does everything really mediocre, even the kung fu, which for a kung fu comedy is disappointing. Now, in the beginning, well, before I get into it, spoiler alert, because I will be talking spoilerish about this movie. So consider this your spoiler warning. But in the beginning, it started off really good with the montage. You see how they progressed from little kids and how they were learning their kung fu from their master and how they evolved, right? And I was like, all right, dope. We're going to have a little bit of a redemption story. Now, if you read the what is it? It's not a preview, but where it tells you what the movie description is. It basically tells you that these three middle-aged men have to, brush off their age and remember what their master taught them. Something to that effect, right? So you already know there's gonna be a redemption story, but the main character. I'm gonna just get into it because the main character Danny, because it's basically Danny, Jim, and Ying, and they are the three little kids that if you see them go from little kids to teenagers to adults, and they're gonna compete in Japan, and that's the last that we see of them until they're like over the hill middle-aged men. And again, from if you read the description of what you're gonna watch, okay, there's gonna be three middle men, and they're gonna overcome obstacles, right? But the character of Danny, which is the main guy, the glue of the team, the I think what do they call him? Like I can't remember the name that they call him, but like the student, right? The one that gets taught all the secrets on kung fu. We're supposed to feel for him. We're supposed to cheer for him, but the writers wrote him so abrasive in the beginning. He is such a horrible person. He is a horrible dad, and if you're a father, you get this feeling like I would never do this. Like this is where a father does not care about his son, and he is in his own interest. And it's not even like towards the end they try to why his wife was in one of his visions is beyond me, because it didn't even seem like he wanted to get back with his family or get his family together. It was just the weirdest thing as to why they chose to incorporate her in his vision towards the end when he gets inspired. And I'll get into that a little bit at the end. But Danny is just he's just a horrible person, a horrible friend, a horrible father. He was a horrible husband. He's a horrible student. He's just a horrible fucking selfish human being. And at the end, we're like expected to cheer for him, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you wrote him too despicable. And even the shit that he says when he makes his son lie for him, and it's he doesn't care that his sensei got killed and that his two friends are basically begging him to get involved. And I was just like, come on, like why write him so unlikable? And he was so unlikable. And for being like a story about these three kung fu friends, Carter, the one that Danny was beating up in the basement, and when they were like 8 he's undefeated and stuff like that, Carter was probably the only comedy in this movie. And it's the only time that I even chuckled a little bit, because there wasn't a lot of laughing in this movie. There was a couple bright spots, but whatever. But as far as the comedy, if it wasn't when Carter was challenging them and he was doing all those like weird ass, I'm sure they're actually poses, but when he was like the crow, the tiger, all that was funny, and he reminded me like a very very cheap version of Will Ferrell. But yeah, he was the best part in this movie, and he was the only thing that why this movie was called a comedy. It was such a bad script. It's like I said, it started off really good the first 5 minutes, and then it just became like, I don't know if this was just an idea. They were like, oh, and this and this and let's do this, and they just jumbled all these things into a script and said, hey, this is where we're gonna go. It was uninspired. Jim and Ying, they were the only ones that I found that had chemistry together. And I liked the way they were playing off of each other when they were at a diner in the beginning of the movie. I could see some good acting there. They were playing off of the emotion, and it felt like two friends were reconnecting, as opposed to when Danny was involved with them. If it just felt forced, and it wasn't like Jim and Ying had the chemistry throughout the whole movie, but in a few scenes you could see like, okay, they definitely can work good with each other. I just think probably the casting was an issue. The Danny character, they make him too weak, and then at the end he's trying to fight this, a younger version of him basically, and the younger version should have kicked his ass because there was there was a little monster where he puts this band in his head and he starts hitting this ball, and that's supposed to like get him better to where he is. Like, oh, I could slow down time and I could see everything before it happens. Like, nah, in real life you get your ass beat. But so at the end, the movie tries to have this message where he calls his son and is like, oh, because his son gets his butt, he's getting bullied and he gets his butt beat, and he's like, and when like 5 minutes before, after he gets his butt, he's all saying, oh no, you just have to tell a teacher, and you have to do this, and you have to run away, you just have to let other people fight, you don't get involved. And then 5 minutes after that, he's like calling his son, oh no, I was wrong, and I want to tell you good night, and I want to tell you that you have to, sometimes you have to fight, which is the right message. If you're getting bullied, you have to stand up to him. At some points you can't run, you have to fight. But it tries to do all this stuff at the end, and it just can't happen. He like I said earlier, he was written so unlikable that you can't cheer for him at the end. And when he's your hero, you can't draw him down. You can't take him down that deep and then expect him to rise up, because in his rise up is only going to become to a point where like, okay, I get it, but I still don't like this dude because you wrote him too unlikable. Like you made us feel like they did that, right? They wrote him so fucking horrible that you're at the end like, I don't like this dude. And then his redemption arc, you're like, I get what he was doing, but it's not working for me. So then the whole movie is just a miss for me. So, I'm a kung fu person. I like the kung fu movies, and there was some cool, kung fu, which is the only reason this movie gets redeemed, but not enough to give this like a what I consider a passing grade. Because for me, this movie was a D, and it was really close to a D minus. The score, the kung fu, and some of the chemistry kind of made this movie bearable to watch, but really just barely. I was counting the minutes to this movie to end, because even the end was a little bit anticlimactic, to be honest. So, anyways, that is just my thought. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. So let me know what you thought about this movie. Did you like it? Have you seen it? Did you not like it? Put your thoughts down in the comments. And like always, that's a wrap.